The little girl drops the TV on the floor and starts jumping on it. The maid sees this and says, "Child, what are you doing?" Hearing the noise, the girl's mother quickly comes in. When she sees the broken TV, she says, "Who did this?" The little girl says, "It was the maid, Mama. She hit the TV with a broom and broke it." The mother is shocked and says, "What? What happened to you? Have you lost your mind or what?" The maid says, "No, madam. I swear I didn't do it." The mother shouts angrily, "I will not let this go. You are fired." The maid starts crying and says, "You are firing me." "No, madam. Please don't take my job. I need this work." But the mother forces the maid to leave the house. At that moment, the girl's father enters and says, "What is all this noise? What's happening here?" The wife says, "My love, what else? This maid broke the TV." The maid says, "No, sir. I swear I didn't do it. The girl did it." The mother screams in anger, "What? Are you crazy? How dare you blame my daughter?" The father says, "Enough. If it was an accident, we don't need to fire the maid. Anyway, I wanted to change this TV. I will buy a new one." End of story. The maid says, "Thank you, sir. I will continue my work." The maid leaves. The little girl says to herself, "Now you'll understand, maid." Sometime later, when the maid brings clean clothes, the little girl throws them on the floor. The maid says, "What have you done?" The girl pours color on the clothes and calls her parents. The parents rush in. The little girl says, "Look, the maid did this." The mother sees her favorite dress with color stains. She picks it up and sadly says to her husband, "How can you let this happen?" The father says angrily, "This is the last straw. That's it. We're taking you back to your village right now." The man forces the maid to leave with them. The mother says to her daughter, "Come on, dear, let's go. We can't waste time." The little girl smiles and says, "Yes, I want to see her face." The father drops the maid at her house and says, "Now we are at your home." The little girl says in a mocking tone, "I hope I never see you again." The father says, "You're wrong about that, little girl. You're going to see her a lot more." The girl is shocked and says, "What?" The father says, "Yes, you will stay with her for a few days so you can learn to respect her. Here's your bag, everything." The little girl looks at her mom and says, "Mama, please say something." The mother says, "I'm sorry, dear, but your father and I made this decision together. This is for your own good. What you did to Panchita was wrong." The little girl cries and says, "What are you saying? I didn't do anything." The father says, "We saw the security camera footage. What we saw made us very disappointed." Flashback. The wife asks her husband, "How can you believe the maid more than your own daughter?" The husband shows her the camera footage where it's clear the girl broke the TV. The wife says, "So the maid was telling the truth. This can't be. I said so many bad things to her." The wife asks, "Now what will we do with our daughter?" The husband says, "I have an idea. Trust me." Back to the present. The little girl says, "But Papa." The father says, "No more talking. This is for your own good." The little girl says, "Mama?" The mother says, "I agree with your papa, dear." The maid comforts the girl and says, "Come, little Matilda. Everything will be okay. I will take care of you." The maid takes her to her house. The little girl says in shock, "Where will I sleep?" The maid smiles and says, "Here, on this cot. Don't worry, I'll sleep on the floor. Come on, sit. I'll make soup for you. Think of this as your home." At first it was hard for the little girl, but slowly she learned to respect the maid. Soon the little girl understood how valuable the maid was. She became a better person, more humble and more kind. A few days later, her parents came to take her home. The girl ran to them happily and said, "The maid taught me that we should love others the same way we love ourselves, and we should always be good and humble." If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.